Okay, Mom. This is from our lovely sister.
No way.
Shout out. Guys, I didn't ruin the surprise. Even though it was a surprise for me too, but
Oh my god, guys, take a look.
yeah.
Take a look. Oh my god, this is so sweet. Honestly, I have to say we have the best sisters.
We have
ever.
the best sisters.
Like, you guys don't understand.
Like actual OGs.
Oh,
OG
if
supporters.
you know, you know.
Also, shout out to Fruits by Fariha.
We love your fruits, girl. They're so good.
So much better than y'all. Stop going to edible arrangements.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Cut that out.
We don't need takawa edible arrangements.
Yeah,
Go to
sometimes
Fariha.
the strawberries are not even like.
Ew, they're so soggy. I'll tell you guys a story. So Fariha came to my door and she like personally delivered it. Also amazing.
The personal touch, guys.
The personal touch. It's like the little notes, everything. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? And like my little Issa in the back is like, because he loves it when people come. So he like runs to the door. I love how babies have no concept of like personal safety.
So cute though.
They're
Oh my
so
god, I
open
can't even.
for anyone.
They're so excited.
Yeah, and then she was like, I'm like, oh, what is this? And she's like, oh, this is it's not from me, but she's like, this is something special. Congratulations on 100K. And I was like,
my god.
what? And there's 2 boxes inside.
Oh my god.
And I saw the tag and it was from our sisters.
That is, guys, honestly, I wish this on everyone, that you guys have sisters like ours. Truly,
Amazing.
truly, not just because of this, just in general.
Seriously.
Really, really loving people. We appreciate you guys.
And like OG supporters, like y'all out here giving us topic ideas.
You know, when we hit 100K, we actually had a couple of people message and say, we followed you guys when you guys had like 2,000 followers.
I know.
I was like, oh my God,
y'all
thank
the real
you so much.
ones.
The real ones,
real
for real. It's been such a journey.
I know.
Such a journey.
Welcome to the episode.
Welcome.
I want to say thank you to everybody for playing us in your AirPods. Thank you for everybody who has us Bluetooth right now through your whatever Apple CarPlay, Apple CarPlay or whatever.
Yeah.
While you're driving to and from work. If you're listening to us during your lunch break, your recesses, your bartan dhone wale kaam, your, folding your laundry,
Nursing your baby.
3 a.m. nursing, feed times, all of that. We really appreciate it. A lot of people have reached out and said, when I'm doing all of these things, I listen to you guys. It makes me feel, and I appreciate that. One mom actually said, like, she just had her 3rd.
Yeah.
And she was like, I literally am binge listening you guys as I'm going through this like newborn phase.
Yeah.
And I was thinking back and was like, I really wish I had something like that.
I know.
When we were going through the tough days, they're so hard,
Yeah. And sometimes you just need like a pick me up or like somebody to
real.
laugh with that you can relate to, that looks like you. You know what I mean?
That's been
the thing.
through because we've been there.
Yeah.
We've been through that newborn trench and it's rough.
Yeah, it's so rough. It's so rough.
We appreciate you. We love seeing you guys outside in public. We are, sometimes we might be frazzled.
Hella frazzle.
Some people come to us and we're like,
hi. Hello.
us? Me?
What? I don't think we expect it because it's like such a new thing for us, but honestly, we're so humbled by it. And like, I think it's such a lovely community because I think we all have so much in common, and that's how everybody relates.
Honestly,
we all have lived the same life.
Seriously, we have the same parents, we have the same childhood trauma,
same auntie trauma.
We all wear shalwar kameez to bed. It is what it is. So remember, subscribe to the channel. If you already are, thank you. Tell a friend to tell a friend.
To tell a friend.
Please follow us on Spotify. Give us those 5 stars. Follow us on Apple Podcasts. Leave a nice review. It means a lot to us. I know. From your end, it might be one of those like, I'm just one person. Is it really going to make a difference? Kind of like, a voting concept.
Yeah.
Like, should I really vote?
Yeah.
Guys, it makes a difference.
It makes a huge difference.
We really appreciate it. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
Yes.
Hina.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to surprise you with something.
Oh, God. I'm never prepared when she does this stuff.
They're either good surprises or scary surprises.
Okay, go for it.
So many people have been out there being like, y'all need to do a segment in Urdu. Today's the day.
Yeah, I didn't even prep. I didn't even go through my Urdu dictionary and think of all the new words.
You got
the big words.
You got to read through that Urdu newspaper. Okay, first of all, Urdu newspapers are the hardest Urdu I've ever tried to read in my life.
Like, I'm looking at it like
what is this
like my
word?
finger is on it like I'm reading the guy that like blah. Like that's how I'm reading it. I can make it out eventually, but
and 15 minutes go by, you still don't know what this
I'm on
word
like
is.
the first sentence, I swear.
You know what it is? Then I read a sentence and I still don't know what it's saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, maybe if I read it really fast, then it'll make sense to me. And then it's like, okay, hold on one second. Like, is anything making sense? And nothing makes sense.
You know, the only thing that I can make sense of is if I read like a chaat masala or something box, like a shan masala box, and I read the ingredients, then I'm like, oh, I know what this is.
Ek chamuch namak.
So we're gonna do a quick segment. It's not gonna be 100% in Urdu.
Do not judge us, guys.
Don't
give
judge
us the A for effort, okay?
Don't come after us.
Yeah, don't
but
come
y'all
after us,
wanted
please.
You're here for the laughs. Let's have together. You ready?
I'm not ready.
कैसी हो?
Okay, मैं ठीक हूँ. आपका क्या हाल है?
Oh, मैं बिल्कुल ठीक हूँ. Wow.
आज आप बहुत खूबसूरत लग रही हैं.
बहुत शुक्रिया.
हाँ जी, बस मैंने आप सारों को बताना था कि ये जो रंग अरूज ने पहना है ना, ये लाल और नीला, ये इसके ऊपर बहुत सजता है.
You know, कभी कभी है ना, इतनी अच्छी लगती है ना, कैमरे में इतनी अच्छी लगती है कि मैं कहती हूँ थोड़ा सा मैं भी अपनी बूथी ठीक कर लूं.
हम बस एक दूसरे को पूरा ये सेगमेंट हम एक दूसरे को कॉम्प्लीमेंट्स दे रहे हैं. That's it.
एक दूसरे की तारीफ.
This is why we need you, girl.
Yo, this is why we fill in each other's gaps.
लोगों ने दरखास्त किया था कि कि आपको फजूल और फायर बहुत पसंद है, इसलिए हम आज उर्दू में ये सेगमेंट करेंगे और इसका नाम है फजूल और फायर.
Fire.
Not fire, fire. Okay?
Yeah, because I don't know what else to say. Okay.
I don't know what else to say either.
Okay. फजूल या फायर? चाय में पत्ती.
Honestly, मैं कहूँगी कि फजूल है, इसलिए क्योंकि मुझे अच्छा नहीं लगता कि मेरे चाय के अंदर कोई चीज़ स्विम कर रही है. मलाई की तरह मुझे मलाई पसंद नहीं है.
मलाई नहीं पसंद.
That was my second one कि मैंने यही पूछना था.
पूछो.
फजूल या फायर मलाई?
फजूल. Okay, जब मैं पाकिस्तान गई थी ना, वहां पे लोग मलाई लेते हैं और टोस्ट के ऊपर लगाते हैं, नाश्ते के लिए खाते हैं. क्यों?
और मेरी फैमिली इस तरह करती है.
क्यों?
उनको बहुत पसंद है. बहुत लोगों को मलाई पसंद है, मगर मुझे इसलिए नहीं पसंद क्योंकि मुझे लगता है कि मेरी चाय के अंदर ना खाल ऊपर तैर रही है. खाल तैर रही है.
मुझे उसकी वो
टेक्सचर उसका टेक्सचर थोड़ा सा अलग है. I'm saying this right.
नहीं,
अलग है टेक्सचर.
I'm really impressed.
आज तो मैं अपनी A1 उर्दू लेके आई हूँ आप सारों के सामने.
फजूल या फायर? रिमोट के ऊपर प्लास्टिक लगाना.
फजूल नहीं, वैसे मैं समझती हूँ कि किस वजह से लोग करते हैं. हमारे माँ बाप क्यों करते हैं?
क्योंकि वो चिपकता है.
वो भी, मगर वो इसलिए करते हैं कि ताकि वो उसका पेंट ना उतर जाए.
और अगर आपके हाथ पे तेल लगा हुआ है और आप रिमोट को छेड़ते हैं,
हाँ बिल्कुल
तो कितनी वो फजूल फीलिंग है.
अजीब सी फीलिंग है. हाँ,
सो देन
अजीब सा महसूस होता है. महसूस.
कैच इट आउट. मेरी अम्मी ना हमेशा टेबल के ऊपर लगाती हैं प्लास्टिक.
Oh my God, टेबल पे और सोफों पे.
हाँ,
प्लास्टिक नहीं, मगर कभी कभी ना वो चादरें डाल देते हैं. राइट,
अभी तक
गैस वाले लिविंग रूम में ना उसके ऊपर चादर, ताकि जब गेस्ट आए फिर चादर उतार सकते हैं.
और सोफा ऐसे चमक रहा होता है.
वैसे मैंने उनको क्रेडिट देनी है बिकॉज क्योंकि उनके सोफे ऑनेस्टली बड़ी लॉन्ग लास्टिंग.
20 साल हो गए वही सोफे चल रहे हैं. ये हमारा 2 साल में IKEA सोफा गया.
That's what I'm saying. बिल्कुल सही बात है आपकी अरूज साहिबा.
आपको पता है रिश्ता आ रहा है जब वो चादर नहीं है सोफे पे. सांसें आ रही हैं.
फजूल या फायर पाए?
फजूल.
मुझे नहीं पसंद. मैं भी नहीं. वैसे मुझे पता है बहुत लोगों को पसंद है, और जिनको पता नहीं है पाए क्या है, वो हैं
पैर.
गाय के
goat's feet, right?
नहीं,
cow's feet.
Yeah,
गाय के पैर.
गाय के पैर. Is it pants or guy? It's a guy. Because a pants is
guy.
Bull. Right? I'm like bull. Pants is a bull. Just हमें प्लीज आप जज ना करें. गाय के पैर. एंड ऑनेस्टली मैं वो नहीं खा सकती. इसको अब ये अटैक हो गया है, जो अरूज का डेली चीज होती है ना, इसका ये हंसियों का अटैक शुरू हो गया. कोई इसको क्लिनिक्स ला दे. थोड़ी सी देर उसको लगेगी.
बैक मैं वापस आ गई हूँ.
हाँ, तो पाए ना हाथ थोड़े से चिपक जाते हैं ना शोरबे के अंदर, वो मुझे इतना पसंद नहीं आता. एक तो मैंने पाए मैंने कोशिश की थी खाने की, मगर उस पाए के ऊपर ना छोटे छोटे से बाल लगे थे, और फिर लग रहा था कि मुझे उल्टी आएगी, मुझे उल्टी आने वाली थी, इसलिए मैंने कहा कि मैं जिंदगी भर ये पाए नहीं खाने, प्लीज कोई और खा ले, जज़ाकल्लाह.
Guys, I have to say this in English. That's gross.
I'm telling you, it happened to me.
That's gross.
No, it happened to me.
मैं एक दफा पाकिस्तान गई थी ना, तो मैं भड़ा गोश्त नहीं खाती, तो मेरे अब्बू ने मुझे जबरदस्ती खिलाए पाए. हाँ, और वो तो जैसे ना हड्डियां चूस रहे थे और उंगलियां चूस रहे थे, उनको इतना मजा आ रहा था, और मैं बैठ के देख रही थी कि मैंने तो इसको छेड़ना नहीं है, कैसे मैं यहाँ से घसीटूं. ओके, मेरे अब्बू ने कहा यहाँ पे हिलना नहीं है जब तक ये पानी नहीं खत्म होगा.
ओके, वैसे मुझे लगता है कि it is like मजेदार है,
लेकिन
तुम बड़ा गोश्त नहीं खाती.
हाँ, मैं नहीं खाती, लेकिन उसका सालन बहुत मजे का है.
हाँ, उसका सालन बहुत
मैंने सुना है
अगर तो अच्छी तरह बना.
हाँ, पाकिस्तान में तो अब क्या ही बात है. फजूल या फायर? ब्रैम्पटन का बैटमैन.
ओ, फायर. वो तो ऑनेस्टली फायर ही फायर है.
मैं इतना देखती हूँ उसको.
मैं भी.
और उसका वो जो है ना, द बैटमोबाइल, आई
थिंक लोगों को समझ नहीं आ रही. ओके, तो आप सारों को पता है बैटमैन कौन है, राइट? तो एक सिटी है टोरंटो, कनाडा में, उसका नाम है ब्रैम्पटन. सारों ने सुना हुआ ब्रैम्पटन का, ठीक है?
ब्रैम्पटन के नाम पे
ब्रैम्पटन द विच. ओके, यहाँ पे एक आदमी है और वो पूरा बैटमैन का कॉस्ट्यूम पहन के वो ब्रैम्पटन की सड़कों को फिरता है, और उसके पास बैटमोबाइल भी है. और वो ड्राइव करता है, और वो लोगों को बचाता है चीजों से. एक लड़की का एक्सीडेंट हुआ, उसने उसको जाके बचाया था.
ओके, ये नहीं मुझे पता.
हाँ, मैंने देखा था. ब्रैमली रोड.
अच्छा, ब्रैमली रोड.
आई थिंक ब्रैमली रोड. मगर वैसे मैं कहती हूँ वो नेक काम कर रहा है, तो इट्स काइंड ऑफ कूल टू.
और उसकी गाड़ी बहुत प्यारी है.
हाँ,
ये तो है.
मगर है कौन?
आई डोंट नो. किधर हो?
अपना नाम तो बताओ. Bruce Wayne.
For those of you who did not understand, we apologize.
I'll include subtitles, okay?
She'll try, but this is hard to include subtitles.
Yeah, it's like when you subtitle a Bollywood movie. Like it makes no sense.
It's gonna sound horrendous.
It's not gonna slap the way it should.
But for those of you who did understand and laugh with us, we appreciate you.
Don't judge our mediocre Urdu, okay?
Yeah, seriously. But also, Hina made me laugh, okay? Thank you. I was here for that.
Okay.
So, we asked a question. Hina, what was our question?
Okay, so the question we asked our audience was, what's your experience with traditional gender roles? Do they still apply today? Which I think is a great question.
It is.
I think it's something that we've touched on, but we've never really done a deep dive into it.
You're right.
Yeah, so this is a great opportunity for us to do a deep dive into it.
So, here's my take. Here's what I think we should do, so that, because this is going to be a long topic and it could go on forever.
Yeah.
How about we try and see if we can do it from like how gender roles were growing up.
Okay.
Right? Versus maybe if we get to it, maybe how it shifted once we got married. Or once anybody gets married. Or once you're, I don't know, once you hit certain milestones. Maybe it's like if you move out for university, or you end up just moving away because you got a great job, so you end up going somewhere else. Like certain milestones in your life, how did that dynamic shift?
I think that's a great idea. Let's do that.
So what do you think about gender roles, and how did it apply for you growing up?
I mean, I'm a majority of Desi women. I think that we've all grown up with that, that idea that gender roles exist. I actually still think that they exist.
Yeah,
I don't even necessarily hate it, to be very honest. I think that there's purpose behind it because there are differences between men and women. Let's be real, right? But like growing up, it was very much, and I don't think it was a toxic thing, because I can honestly say, like, I don't feel like my mom or my dad treated my brother differently from us in the sense of like, she was never like, oh, you clean the dishes, or like you do your laundry, but he doesn't have to. It was never like that, right? But I do think that it was like this known thing where it was like, okay, yeah, well, women should learn how to cook. They should know how to cook. It's like a life skill that you should know. getting, because you're going to one day get married. And I don't know if it was enforced as much on my brother as learn how to cook.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think it wasn't something that was talked about, but it was there and everybody knew it. And I think coming from an environment, because like obviously my mom was a homemaker and my dad was the one that worked, there was a clear gender role there. And it wasn't in a way where my mom disliked it. I actually think she enjoyed being like a homemaker and like a child, like, a mom and all that stuff. But I think where it differs is that we, like our generation, is a lot more like we want to go out there, we want to work. And it's not to say that like we're like, yes, we want to slave away at the 9 to 5. It's not that. But I think even having a passion, going and doing something that you enjoy, even like a podcast, right? I think there's something in us that is like, well, yeah, some of us might have been stay-at-home moms. Like I was a stay-at-home mom for a while, and I'll be honest, it was not for me. Like I was also like, I enjoy having that freedom to just be like, oh, I don't have to wake up and do a 9 to 5, but that in itself is a job. But on top of that, I just feel like you need to have some sort of passion, because what else are you gonna do?
Okay, let me play a little devil's advocate.
Yeah, go for it.
So here's my question to you. So it's different if, for example, the generation before us or before them, they were told, okay, you don't need to go to school because you're going to learn to be a homemaker at home.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So like maybe girls were discouraged at a young age, being like, no, you don't need to go to school. You're going to stay home. We're going to teach you how to cook, clean, whatever, so that when you do get married, they train you to get into that role.
Absolutely.
Right. How do you still think that thinking is valid, or is it unfair to women now who are told you also have to go to school but still are expected to learn how to cook, clean, and do all the other quote unquote, I'm gonna say, womanly roles?
Yeah, I do think it is invalid. Why wouldn't it be? Because I mean, if you think about it, like the average couple these days, especially I'm talking about, look at the economy we're living in, right? It's very hard to have like one person working, right? So majority of people, it's like both people are working, but the expectation of being a homemaker and cooking and doing all that stuff and being a mom falls way more heavily on a woman,
right, than
it would on a man. I mean, it's great that he does it, but he's also applauded 20 times more for doing the bare minimum when it comes to children, right? So I think that is there. And I still think that even though our generation has progressed and it's not as how it was before, where like our parents were literally like, this is your sole job. You don't need to have a job. You don't need to go to school. It's not like that. But I do feel like there's a lot of parents that still push that narrative on their daughters, where it's like, yeah, you went to school. That's great. But like, where's your ring? Where's your ring? And where's your kids? And where's your husband? And why are you not taking care of him? And why are you not taking care? And so I do think that concept is still there. What do you think?
I think it's very unfair to put pressure on girls these days to also be educated and then expect to do everything around the house and everything child related. And if you have a spouse or a partner that helps out, great, good for you. Wow, we're so happy for you. And if you don't, well, too bad, because that's what you're expected to do. And I think that's where the unfairness falls, because you also expected me to go to university. You also expected me to, let's just say, like, I'm now in debt. So now I have to work to pay off all of this debt. Okay. Now I have a 9 to 5. I'm making money. I'm trying to pay off all of the stuff that I had accumulated because I went to university. Now you found me a husband, or I found myself a husband. I'm married. So I still have to do my 9 to 5 and come home and still have to do everything around the home. Right. Whereas growing up, what my mom was the homemaker, and there was no expectation of her working. No expectation that she had to go and get a job. No expectation that my sister and I would go and get a part-time job, right?
Yeah.
But with my brothers, it was always like, well, they're gonna be the men of the house. So like, you are gonna earn once you are like 16 or of age or whatever, you are gonna work, right? Whereas with us, it's like, not only did we have to also get the pressure of going into university, going into a good university, getting degrees, doing all of these things, but also like get married and then do everything else. So I just feel like it's been, as generations are progressing, yes, feminism is there and we're getting all of these things and equality is there. But the unfairness for me is, why is it that we have to do all of that and take on roles of men?
Yeah, because it's like the equality is there, but then the judgment is there 10 times more.
Exactly.
Right? It's like the same concept as people wanting their sons to marry these highly educated women who have slaved away at school and worked so hard to get these degrees and PhDs and masters. And then they have these expectations like, okay, well, we want a doctor for our son. And then you get the doctor who's like invested in saving people's lives and is super busy, but then you get upset that she's not able to cook a full 8-course Desi meal.
Right.
Like, you have to make it make sense.
Yeah.
You can't have everything, right? So like, pick if you want that, and that's what your son goes after, and or if your daughter wants that, or whichever way it goes, right? Like, you just have to know that women are doing it all. And I'm not saying this to the women that are just like, well, we don't want to do anything and whatever. That's different. But I'm talking about the career women, the ones that have a business, the moms, all of them. I'm like, they're doing so much, and there's so much pressure that falls onto them, and there's so much judgment when you don't step up.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so growing up, when it came to my brothers, there was huge disparities in our home.
Yeah,
okay,
for sure.
It wasn't so much like, if I do the laundry, then my brothers also have to do the laundry. It was very much like,
you're doing the laundry.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to clean. You got to do all these things. We were expected to do all of the traditional women roles. So we were expected to know how to do it. Okay. We were expected that by a certain age, you are going to be married.
Yeah.
Where that wasn't always said out loud for men in the home, right?
Sure,
it wasn't always like, oh, by the time you're 27, you have to be married. It was kind of like, nah, boys will be boys.
Yeah,
Men will be men.
For sure.
They can kind of like, there's that pressure wasn't on them. Okay. Not necessarily, I will say. And then I found that my sister and I also, the thing is, our parents were very different parents to us than they were for my siblings. Because I feel like or my brothers, I should say, by the time my brothers were born, they really laxed.
Yeah.
And they sat back and were like, well, they're men, they're boys.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. And like, okay, we have older daughters, then we kind of took on a mothering role for our moms.
Yeah.
For our mom. So it was a very relaxed parenting style, I will say. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think also frustrated my sister and I, because we were like, what the heck? We were never allowed to do any of this stuff. You were so strict when it came to us. And when it comes to our brothers, like, none of that is there.
Yeah, totally.
Right. And so I think this is where the whole concept of gender roles is still very prominent in our society. I don't think it's ever going to go away. And I think there's good and bad to both.
I think so too.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think it's very hard to change parents' mindsets.
I think that too. And it's sometimes what happens is like, let's say, we're at a point where it's like, we acknowledge it's very hard to change the mindset of the generations before us. But I think an issue that happens is that it leaks into the generation after them. Right. And so I think we also have to do like a way better job at checking ourselves and realizing the type of world we're living in is not the world that they were living in. It has changed and evolved.
Right.
And it's like a completely different world now. So we do have to think about that when we are, we have daughters and sons, or if we're going out and looking for a rishta, because it's not how it was. And just how you praise your sons for doing, and I'm not saying that men don't do anything. They actually do a lot. But, I've just noticed this, like, for example, when it comes to parenting, right? The mom will take her kids out, okay? That one be slaving away, okay? She's like, one child hanging on this side, one child on this side, one is on the floor having a full-on meltdown, okay? Literally, okay? And she's like, Charlie, like, calm down. Yeah. She's saying things like that when her anxiety is through the roof, okay? And like, everyone is like, oh my goodness, that mom, she does not have her kids on lock, okay? Meanwhile, that dad goes out with those 3 kids and it's like, aw, so cute. Dad of the year. Oh my God. Why can't you be a dad like that? Like that's that type of stuff. When it's like, give praise to the mother who is the nurturer, who literally like gave birth to these children. Okay. And that's the other thing. Okay. Like a little sideways off topic here, but even the smallest things. Okay. Like as moms, how many pictures do you have with your kids?
I barely have any.
Right? How many pictures? Probably hardly any. Because I honestly don't think that men actually go out of their way to take pictures of their wives with their children. But like women are like, oh, let me capture this moment. Let me capture this memory. Oh, like, let me do this. Let me do that. And again, not saying all men, but I've just seen this a lot with a lot of the girls that I know. And it just feels like you are so invalidated. Your cup is so empty.
Right.
how do you expect any good to come from that? Whereas like the man is like, we capture all these special moments and memories for them. You know what I mean? But like that falls into the whole gender role thing too, where like men are expected to do the bare minimum when it comes to children, and women take on this immense load, a load that is so heavy to carry at times that you honestly feel like your back is going to break, but you can't even complain, because if you complain, your in-laws or your parents will say, we did it. We didn't complain. Why are you complaining? Right? Whereas the man, he can be like, oh, well, I don't really change diapers, or like, I can't do night feeds because I have to wake up early, when the woman might also have to wake up early, right? She's been waking up early in the early mornings.
Right.
But like, there's always a sense of like, oh, well, that's his job. And like, your job is to do this. But what about everything else that I want to do?
And what do you do if you are a stay-at-home mom, okay, but it's not filling your cup?
That's the thing.
Okay.
I can speak on that for sure.
Right.
Like, what have you done? Because you were also at home for a bit too, with
Honestly,
on mat leave,
yeah,
right?
I was at home and I felt like it was very much like if I wasn't doing like an extra activity with the kids, if I wasn't taking them to early on, if I didn't have them in swimming, if I didn't have them in all of these activities that honestly I just couldn't even sometimes get myself to pack the kids up to take them anywhere. If I wasn't doing all of that, then it was kind of like, okay, but you're just at home.
Yeah. And then it's also that culture of like showing how perfect of a mom you are. You know what I mean? And I've been in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, you know, being a stay-at-home mom is really tricky, because like you have these kids and you want to raise these kids, but it's almost like you're trying to attain this level of perfection.
Yeah.
With how you show your kids to the world, to people that you know, with what you do for your kids, like whether it be birthday parties, whether it be you're packing their lunch, whether it be what you're saying, like if I didn't take them to like early on, or take them and do something specific with them where I felt like, okay, I'm doing something, you know, to engage my children and be a present mom, then you feel like a crappy mom, that like I'm not upholding my part, because what am I doing? I'm just staying at home. But just staying at home is a job in itself.
It's like 6 jobs.
It's like 17,000 jobs.
Yeah.
And like, I also feel like mentally you're very drained, because that takes up a lot of everything.
You know what else? I found that when I was home, there was this like a pressure that nobody ever explicitly said.
Yeah.
This is the thing. Nobody ever explicitly says any of these things. Nobody's coming to and being like, make sure the house is clean, make sure the burtan are washed. Nobody is coming and saying these to your face. Okay. But there is this like unspoken ghost in the room that is whispering it to you in your ear every time you're like, oh man, I didn't do the dishes yet. Oh man, what are we going to eat? What are we going to... Whereas I found that sometimes men can be home all day. All day. And it's not like they're working from home. Like it could be their chutti. It could be their day off. It could be a long weekend, whatever it may be. And they can go the whole day without touching any of that.
100%.
Okay?
Yeah.
And they don't feel that pressure.
Yeah.
They don't feel that, oh, you know, well, it's my day off, but my wife is, you know, at work or doing whatever, you know, let's just say it's the husband's day off and the wife is at work.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Scenario time.
Yeah.
And the wife dropped all the kids off in the morning and went to work. Okay? So now the husband is home all day.
Yeah.
Okay? As a wife, you are now at work.
Yeah.
In your mind, what are you thinking that's going to happen when you come home?
Jackal.
You know, like literally in my mind, I'd be like, okay, well, at least, you know, maybe something for the kids will be taken care of. Like dinner.
Like
okay?
the bare minimum.
The dinner will be done, and like possibly the dishes will be done. So at least I don't have to go home.
Yeah.
Because I'm tired now.
Yeah.
It's like 5 p.m. I'm tired.
Yeah. No, of course.
It's been a long day.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go and pick up the kids.
Yeah.
Okay. And you come home. Everything is the way it was when you left the house.
Why am I so triggered? Look at me clenching my fist.
Right? You're triggered, okay? And in your mind, sometimes you just wonder, like, how can this human being not have that pressure that I feel?
Yeah.
And then sometimes I find you check yourself. You're like, okay, but why am I having all this pressure on myself?
No, but then sometimes that's one thing.
Yeah.
Right?
But the pressure is real.
The pressure is real. But then don't you also think that we've also been like indoctrined to think that, oh, but he must have had a really hard week. Like the way that you're like, oh, I should check myself because he's probably tired from a long week of working. But does anybody think that in reverse?
Yeah.
I wonder that. I really wonder that.
Yeah. And I think this is where gender roles is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Because you put so much pressure on the girls in our society. Desi girls we have so much pressure.
The bar is too high.
Achieve, to become this perfect housewife, to be the perfect daughter, to be the golden child, to also have all of these degrees under our email signature. Okay. You are expected to have all of these things, to also bear children, to also give birth to God knows how many children, right? There are so many expectations, whereas do men in our society have the same level of expectations? Is
I don't
the
know.
list just as long?
No, it's
This
not.
is the question that I want to ask everybody here, and I want to ask you: is the list just as long?
I think everyone can honestly say it's not as long. And I honestly I genuinely feel like if men looked inward and they did that comparison themselves, like the real ones, if they took their egos out, they would honestly feel the same. Because I can honestly that I've talked to like guys in my family, like friends that we have, and they can honestly say, yeah, like women have a lot of pressure on them, a lot. And you're so right for what you said, because that bar, the standard is so high, and like the level of perfectionism that you have to attain, not even, it's one thing in our Desi community, it's also in society in general, because like you have to look a certain way, you have to behave a certain way, you have to act a certain way. You can't be like this, you can't be too outspoken, you can't talk too much, always smile, don't be down, you know, be a good mom that's like this and fits into this box, you know, and marry at a certain age. There's so many things we have to do, but we cannot physically do all those things, or mentally. It's very taxing on a person in general. Yeah.
And the minute you try and do something a little bit outside of the box, or let's just say you don't fit in that box, man.
You don't fit in the box.
Let's just say you don't fit into it. All of a sudden, you're like labeled as
You're
one of those.
You're the black sheep.
Yo, you're a real black sheep. And then all of a sudden, it's like, you know, okay, let me ask you a real question.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if we've talked about this in this podcast. I don't even know if people talk about this in our society.
Yeah.
What if a girl actually doesn't want to get married?
Shoot.
You know what I mean?
See? Like that's my reaction, because I'm like, that girl's gonna get ostracized.
Because
100%.
Hina already knows.
I know how it is.
Like, what if you are a doctor?
Yeah.
And you've got this amazing career, like you're, you know, whatever, you're living the life, you got your own home, you have your own schedule, you're doing your thing, okay? You're well known in your field of work. People reach out to you because they know it's a Grey's Anatomy situation.
You're a neurosurgeon, okay?
People are flying from around the globe to give you those you know,
accolades.
Yeah. And you just don't want to get married. You're like, I don't want to do it. It's not in me. I can't have that kind of commitment because I'm so committed to the work that I do. And you're doing great work too. Let's be real.
Yeah.
Okay.
Facts.
You're literally saving lives. What do we do? And how can we not always just say, oh, you know, iske nakhre bahut hai.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Iske rishte nahi achhe aate.
Yeah.
Maybe she's too tall. Maybe she's too dark skinned. Maybe she wears glasses. Maybe she shouldn't have become a doctor. Maybe she just has this independency in her. She's too old. Nobody's gonna want to marry her now. Instead of having all of that list of, you know, the what if and why, and trying to find out the reason why she's not married. What if it could just generally be that she didn't want to get married?
I think 100% it could be that. I feel like once you leave, it's not even necessarily the fact that you are successful in your career. Sometimes it's just the personality of someone, or they see something in their own family, maybe some things that have happened when they were growing up where they were like, this is so toxic that it's scary to me to get married, and I don't know if I want to pursue this, right? Because it is a huge responsibility. It's a huge life change, and some people just genuinely don't want to. So I think in that situation, yes, she would 100% get ostracized. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind. Okay. And on top of that, I feel like the judgment would be so harsh. It would 100% be what you said. It's the nakhre, like, oh, she's a doctor. Oh, she thinks so much of herself. Right. And if she even says like, I don't want to get married, everybody's gonna be like, why? What is it? Fertility issues? Is it this? Is it that? What is it? What is it? Something must have happened for you to say no, but it could just genuinely be somebody saying, no, I don't want to.
Or they'll be like, iska koi hoga.
Yeah, that too.
That goes around in our community so much. She must have someone. She's not ready to tell her parents. Oh, who knows what it is? Like whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But nobody can ever fully just accept the fact that she doesn't want to get married.
Yeah, that's true.
But if a man decides to be single forever,
single and ready to mingle for the rest of his life,
ever,
to date till the grave,
then are we gonna say
no?
Iske nakhre bahut hai.
He's
Iska koi hoga.
He's 60 and he's looking for a 19-year-old. We've discussed this. Ba-bam! The gavel has dropped. No, I feel like it's so much easier for men. And you know, a lot of the men are just like, well, women have a certain age biologically to have children. So why would we go after, why would we want to have a woman that's older? And my thought to that is like, why wouldn't you? She's like emotionally very mature. And women mature faster than men do.
Yep.
It's like proven. Why would, what's the,
So she'd hold the house down.
She'd hold everything down because she'd mentally probably be a stronger person, I would say. You're older, you're wiser. No, I think it's 100% easier for men. In that sense, I think it will always be, right?
So what's your take on girls who are asked to be educated? You go to university, you get whatever degree, you have a career, you're ready to go, and then they are expected to stay home.
That's the thing that's always confused me. And I feel like it happens with all of us.
And do you think any man on this planet has gone through this? Where they've gotten their degree, they have a career, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, now you can stay home.
No, I don't think so. Except like the 1% that are like, oh, we're stay-at-home dads.
Right.
I don't even know if that really happens in our community as well.
I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know. It might, but I've never encountered someone in our community that's a stay-at-home dad.
If you are a stay-at-home dad and you're listening to the podcast, welcome.
Yeah, you're holding it down, bro. Like
holding it down. Yeah,
हमारे लिए भी बना दो. I think it's odd because I think majority of girls, especially in our generation, not majority, I'd say a lot of them, have gone through this where your parents are like, do good in school, get an education. But then there's also this thing of like, well, you're getting an education, but yeah, once you get married, like you should stay home and take care of your kids and your husband. And that should be your role. You know what I mean? Like your role as a mom is most important. Right. And I feel like now that we're in it, we're moms. So we can honestly say that like, or I can speak for myself and I can say, listen, like I'm a mom and I do my utmost, my best for my children. Right. But I also think that that whole thing of like staying at home and nurturing your kids is like the be all end all. I don't know if I believe that. I say this because I think it is mentally exhausting and draining. It takes away from you. It makes you become one of those people that's just like, I live to please others. And that by others, I mean your children, other people around you, your parents, your in-laws, whoever is saying these things to you, right? Or silent expectations that maybe they haven't said it, but you feel it, right? And so I think like you are doing yourself a disservice because you're staying at home just to please everybody else, but then you are not doing what you should be doing. Maybe something you're passionate about, pursuing something. What's that fire in you? Like what is it that will
ignite
keep
it
you going? Because I think if you have that, then you're an even better parent. You have something that makes you happy, you're a better parent, but the expectation sucks because yes, it is there. You want your daughters to get this amazing education, spend all this time in school, rack up these freaking like student loans, and then it's like, okay, well, you're gonna get married, goodbye to the degree. Like what was the point of the school then? And I just think there's also husbands that are like, well, we don't want you to work.
So that's another thing. I feel like they're with women in our society, in the South Asian community specifically. Let's say you get your degree, okay? And now a good rishta comes through the door and your parents are ready to get you married. And you're ready to get married. The guy's a good guy. You guys got along. The connection is there. Great, okay? There's an unspokenness to, if your husband says you don't need to work, then automatically it's like, you're not going to work.
Yeah.
And whether your parents say this to you or not, it's literally like an unspoken thing where he can decide for you.
Yeah.
And I think that
he's the authority figure here.
But like, because he's going to make all the decisions. Right? He's the breadwinner. He's going to decide. And if he decides that you don't need to work, you can stay home, or fine, you can work chalo halka sa part-time if you feel like it, because whatever. Then I think that to me is what that power play is something
that
I disagree with.
I think, guys, at the end of the day, first of all, it's not all men, right? But it is a partnership. We have talked about this so many times. It is a partnership. It is 50 freaking 50. Okay. And I'm not here to be like, work the 9 to 5, like, yay. I'm not saying that because the 9 to 5 grind is a struggle. Okay. But you know what I did want to say? I think, and this is just my opinion here, okay? I think if you are a woman that is a stay-at-home mom and that is your be-all, end-all, that's all you do, that's great. But I would say, please have something on the side. It could be a passion project. It could be social media. It could be you're a mommy blogger. It could be a small business that you start on the side. Have something. Have a damn safety net, please, for the love of God. And I say this because if you don't know what the future holds, okay? Let's say your dear husband departs the world. Unfortunately, I hope this never happens, but let's say, okay, yeah, you might get a percentage or whatever it is. That's one scenario. But let's even say that he's just like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't love you. I'm done. I don't want in this relationship. What do you do? What do you do? You can't do anything because you don't have anything to fall back on. So just to protect yourselves, like, please do something. It doesn't mean go out there and be like, whoa, yay, 9 to 5. If that's your thing, do it. But have something for yourself, because I think it'll make you happy and it'll also keep yourself secure. You know, back in the day, women might not have worked, but they were so slick that they would collect their gold. And that was their safety security.
Yeah.
And like, you have to be smart like that, because you don't know what the future holds. You know, like 5 years ago, you're probably like, me and my husband, we love each other so much. There's no way nothing bad could happen. And then 5 years later, something does happen. And then you're kind of sitting there like, well, what do I do now? I don't have anything to fall back on. So I do think we have to be smarter with like what we're doing in life.
And you know what? If you are in that kind of a relationship and you do feel trapped, this is how people don't get out of relationships.
That's the thing.
Because you're like, where am I going to actually go?
Where am I going to go?
What am I going to do at this point?
And so you're like, oh, I'll just stay in an abusive relationship. When I know it's not healthy for me, I'll just stay because it's the easier thing to do.
Right.
But I feel like, and it's so hard. I feel like it's hard to navigate that. It's hard to get through it. But this is why I think it's so important to have something. No one is saying like you need to be like a Fortune 500 CEO. Nobody's saying that. But like, have something. Always put yourself first, guys. People are going to say I'm selfish, but you know what they say on the airplane? Put your damn mask on first before you even put your kids' masks on.
They always say that on the airplane.
Take care of yourself. You will be way better equipped to take care of other people. So I do think, coming back to the point, because here I am going off topic again, I think there is a 100% they exist today.
Right.
It's not to the extreme, I think, that it used to be back in the day, but it's also because the generations after have done and have tried their best to break a lot of those things, to be more progressive, to be more educated, to like step it up. Because I'm not gonna lie, there are some amazing women even back then and today that have really stepped it up and gone above and beyond and done amazing things for the world. And I think we are trying to like steer away from it, but it still exists. It's just in our culture. Like, it's just how it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I guess this is gonna go back to this is going to be a little bit of a, I don't think we've talked about this before. What do you feel, and how do you think, and maybe some of the men who listen to the podcast can chime in here.
Yeah.
Do you think men get intimidated when they see like a woman's quote unquote CV? Okay. Of like, she has this degree and she has this career and she's a doctor and she's a neurosurgeon and she's got this. Do you think they get intimidated because now she's also carrying so many of the masculine roles?
You want to know something? And I would love for some men to chime into this. I think it depends on the man.
Okay.
Like, I feel like if the man is like a really insecure person, then yes, 100% I think he could get intimidated.
I agree.
But I feel like if it is a confident person that has also, been successful in whatever they're doing, I don't necessarily know if they would feel that like
intimidation.
Yeah.
Because there are actually certain men who want to have a partner and they want to thrive together. And I think those men are the one that we need to give credit for. Y'all need to come out and like do some TED Talks for other men in our community. Yeah. Right? But seriously, there are some men out here who are like literally cheering. You know how they say behind every successful man, there's a woman?
100%.
Behind every successful woman, there's also a man too. Man cheerleader who is like really rooting for her, being like, do this, do that, whatever. Like, we want to see you succeed. We'll make it happen. And I think it totally depends on men, their insecurities and their ego.
I 100%. It's
got to be a combination of all of that. And if you are a man who can hold it down, you know yourself, you want somebody who you are equal partners with, where like, you walk into a great Gatsby themed party and y'all are standing side by side being couple of the year. That's the kind of man we want in our society.
That's the kind of man. I was going to say, I 100% agree with that. I feel like a supportive man and a supportive woman together, you can make a killing. Facts. Not even financially. I just think in every aspect, if you are actually like that couple that are so ride or die for each other and you push each other, I think it's the push for me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you need somebody to be on your level. That's like, you're doing this, I'm pushing you forward. These are my connects. this is who I want you to connect with, and vice versa. Like, hey, I have a link, and like this would be a great opportunity for you. People that do that, couples that do that, are so successful.
Yep.
And it's not even business. Like, there's some like podcasters that I've listened to, like very successful men that I've listened to, that honestly say that, like, no, we have specific gender roles where, like, yes, I am the businessman, but like the house is my wife's. That's her kingdom, and I back off. And I feel like if it's worked that way for you, then it's worked that way for you. You know what I mean? But like, you got to respect each other's spots and places, right?
And maybe the best gender roles are the ones where they're not unspoken.
Yeah.
You know, clear communication. Like, hey, you know what? I have a bit of OCD when it comes to like washing the dishes. So let me do that. But like, you make sure the garbage is always done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You make sure that, you know, whatever, the laundry's always folded.
Or we parent together, right? Like we can kind of take from each other like that. It's not just you do everything. You know, we kind of pull off of each other's energy and we do it together. I think those are the ones that work the best.
You know what else is really successful when it comes to parenting? It's when the mom and the dad are always gonna, like, you don't pull the other parent down in front of your kid.
Yeah.
Right? You're not like, you know, at the dinner table, all of a sudden the husband is like abusing the wife in front of the kids.
Yeah.
Right? Or if the wife is trying to discipline the kids, the husband steps in and says, okay, just leave it. It's not a big deal. We're having dinner. Can you just let them eat dinner?
That's a
big
one.
And maybe in that moment, you're not thinking that it's going to have an impact, but it does have an impact, because your kids are going to look at your wife being like, she doesn't have any authority right now. Because what dad says goes.
Yeah, that's the thing, girl.
You know?
Because like if it was a different role, and let's say the wife is saying to the kids like, you know, I didn't like what you said to me today. And the dad's like, stop scolding him all the time, right? Versus if the dad's like, did you hear what your mom just said? What were you doing today?
Right.
Then immediately the child's like, yo, what was I doing?
Yeah.
You know, you just know.
And also, when kids know that parents are on the same page, they ain't gonna get away with nothing.
I've always thought this, that like, you know, your kids should be, I'm not saying they should be terrified of you, but there should be a little bit of that authoritativeness, that they're like, I can't step out of line like this, because I know both my mom and dad are gonna come for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that easy for me to just back off and like, my parents aren't gonna do anything. Like,
and like, if you catch your spouse yelling at your kids or whatever, don't go up to them, don't interfere, don't go in and be like, why are you yelling at the kids? Unless it's completely unnecessary. Okay. But if you know your partner well, you know that this partner is only gonna raise his or her voice when it's like an extreme situation. And then you come back and say, if your kids are like, Mama yelled at me or Baba yelled at me or whatever the case may be, you go, okay, so what happened? What did you do? Rather than right away going to your partner being
why
like,
are you yelling at
why
them?
are you yelling? Why are you always yelling at the kids? Right? Or, you know, because, you know, parenting is exhausting and our cups can be so empty at times. Have the conversation when the kids are not around. Right?
I agree.
Look at your spouse and be like, hey, listen, you've kind of been, you know, on edge for the past week. What's going on? You know, because maybe there is something happening at work and you're taking it out in the home, and that, you know, it's natural, it happens. But I just think, try not to have those conversations in front of the kids.
Like I agree with that, but I think more important than that is just make sure you have the conversation, because like, it's so important to have like clear communication with each other and like know that like, this is where we stand on such and such thing. Do you know what I mean? You know, the other thing I was going to ask you is like, well, you know how people talk about masculine and feminine energies, right? Where like a woman is like more soft spoken, she's in her soft girl era, and like the man is more like, you know, masculine alpha male kind of thing. Do you think that that's something that's true, where like women gravitate towards that masculine energy, men gravitate towards that feminine energy?
I want to say it's a little bit true.
I feel like it's a bit true too.
Okay? Because like, sometimes when you, and I think it's just, it's like you said, it's ingrained in us. It's not just in our community. It's like literally the whole world. Okay. We've always been taught that men do have that masculine energy. Women are gonna be like a
softer,
softer, quiet, not quiet, but like softer and like very feminine and like dressing a certain way and appearing a certain way, right? And it's like, when you see, let's say you're on a date, okay, and you go dressed as a quote unquote tomboy, right? Sometimes it's not always going to be perceived well on your date, because maybe that man is looking for like a feminine energy, let's just say, okay? And vice versa. Like, let's say you're on a date and your date isn't being alpha male and like paying for the date.
Oh my God, can we talk
about this? Okay.
No, but like, some people were like, well, why would you, you know, why would you want a man to pay? Because why do you want freebies and whatever?
Right.
Like, why should a man pay? Like,
Right.
if you're working and then someone else said something like, well, you know, you're working and you want the man to pay. Like, it was something like that. And I was just like, let's clarify.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's not just that you want to feel cared for.
Chivalry.
Okay? It's like when somebody opens the door for you. It's not common anymore, but when someone does it, you're like, oh wow, thanks.
Yo, I'm sitting here like, back in the day, men went to war.
Yo.
For the love of God. This man's like, I can't buy you a $3 coffee.
Yeah. Jeez. But it's kind of like, I don't know, it's nice to feel taken care of.
Yeah.
Okay? We've talked about this before. We've talked about levels of intimacy, what we categorize it as. And for women to feel secure and safe from their male
big
partner
one.
is a love language.
It's 100%
Men out there listening, it's a love language. If she feels safe and secure and taken care of in her home, whether it's on a first date, okay?
Yeah.
Whether it's like in the home itself, you are showing her that you care and love for her, that you are going to be there for her. You are her ride and die.
And also
in
romance.
In return, it's so romantic and
Yeah.
it really makes the woman be in her element.
Yeah.
Okay. So I feel like if I'm dressing up and going on a date, okay, I'm in my element. I'm looking all good. I can
Look at her, guys.
Rouge got
She
the
going on
eyeliner
date.
okay? It's all good. We're there, okay?
Yeah.
And in return, the man is like pushing me aside and just tapping his phone, and you know, immediately I won't be like,
Immediately.
yes.
You're saying that to me. I'm on a
brownie
date with you
points.
right now. And I'm like, damn, yes, Uruje, I would date you.
Hina's taken me out a few times and she's tapped her phone, and I'm like, bless.
So have you.
I feel taken care of.
But you know what? I think like a lot of women are not just going to sit back and be like, pay please. So we're not like that.
No, we're not.
We're not like that.
If we are, then that's a red flag.
See, that's
on
a
our
red
part.
flag. It's more like, yeah, of course we would offer to pay because I know we're definitely not like that, right? But I just think it's like the gentlemanly thing to do.
Yes.
And that's why we always say, like, if someone is meeting someone for the first time, obviously, like, you don't know how many times you're going to meet this person. Or let's say you meet and you're like, I'm not really interested, right? Just go for coffee, because then it's not like breaking your bank, right? Like a $3 coffee is not that big of a deal. And it's just like gentlemanly. You know what I mean?
And you know what else? I feel like people don't, this is kind of going off topic, but if you don't pay, or if you make it seem like you want the woman to pay, she's going to feel like you didn't want to come.
You didn't want to come. And then it's also like, as a woman, would you not think about the future?
Right.
You would be like, okay, so I've invested time into coming out and having this like coffee with you. You couldn't pay for the coffee, which is tika, whatever. But then internally you're like, are you going to do this like later on? If we actually had a serious relationship, like, would I be like holding it down for you? Like, I would be taking us out. I would be picking you up at your door. I would be bringing you flowers.
Yo, Hina's going to be rolling through.
Honest to
You
God,
need to have music blasting.
Yeah.
Windows down, amplifier playing. Okay,
It's always amplifier for
yo, it's always amplifier.
Amplifier.
That's genius, okay?
I think the thing is, so I remember back in the day when I was in high school, I took like, I think it was like sociology or like anthropology, something like that. I took a class like that. And in that class, we watched this video where they were genuinely talking about things men are attracted to and things women are attracted to. Okay. So like men are like the fact that women have softer voices.
Yes.
Because it's almost like, oh, I can take care of you. I can protect you. Right. And like our stature is like more petite, and like we're just smaller usually than a man is.
Yeah.
Right. And so for them, it's like, oh, like we can take care of you. Right. Like our physical features and things like that. And then with women, it's like men have like those like protective arms, you know, like they have like stronger arms. And so that to us is like, oh, well, I know that like, that's like I guess a sign of like, oh, I know that you can physically take care of me. You know what I mean? Like, or give me a hug or whatever it is. It's like a sign of like feeling secure. Right. So I think all those things kind of come into play at times, because you're just like, oh, okay. So obviously there are like differences between a man and a woman. And obviously there are certain things that we are just as human beings attracted to. Right. So I do think that like a man trying to step it up for like, guys, bare minimum here. What's the bare minimum here? Okay. I think it's just a nice gesture, because I also think women are natural nurturers, right? Like we're very nurturing. So we are always doing those like extremely thoughtful gifts. Like, here's a memory box. I saw you for 6 months and I collected our movie tickets.
Here's a 3-month like
probably
photo collage.
He's probably like, oh, you're so sweet. And what's he gonna do? He's gonna take that shoebox and put it under his bed, and he's like, okay, that was really nice, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
There's things that like the females do that the men don't do, and the men do that the female do. But I do think women want to feel secure. We want to feel like he's got it on lock.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it right now. I know every single woman watching this right now binge watch Bridgerton. Did you not?
I did.
Men out there, let me tell you right now. If you watch that show, you'll understand why every single lady on this planet binge watches that show.
Yeah.
Because it's so apparent. The gender roles are so apparent on that show.
Apparent.
And let me tell you something. The women love it.
The women be fawning over with their little umbrellas.
Yo, not
with their fans.
Yeah. It's not even just the way the women are in the show, but the way the men are in the show.
Yo, the lines they drop.
Ooh,
Shakespearean.
The axe cutting off some wood,
shirts
coming in
off.
from the you know what I mean? That musty, everything all over.
Yeah.
There is an attraction there.
Yeah.
Okay. It's genuine and it's apparent. And I think when women feel that comfort and security in a man, physically, emotionally, then, and even financially, then they're going to want to stay in that relationship and make that relationship work.
I agree.
The minute you don't feel that in a relationship,
the
minute you are not feeling safe financially, emotionally, physically, then you're going to feel like, why am I in this?
And that's the thing, right? Like, how many times we actually had a couple people message us this when we sent this question out, and they said sometimes as a woman you actually switch your role from a feminine to a masculine.
Right.
For example, let's say you are married and, initially the gender role, it was already there. Like the man is going to work and the woman's going to take care of the kids. Mm-hmm. But you realize that this man is not doing what he should have been doing. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you held out your end of the bargain, but he didn't. Right. Or even the other way around. Right. And I think what can happen is that maybe in that role, let's say a woman is the one that's like, okay, I got to hold it down now. Mm-hmm. She takes on the masculine role. Mm-hmm. And then I do think that it develops negative feelings towards the person that she's with.
Because she's like, resentment.
Why am I holding down things that you should have been doing?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? That wasn't what I signed up for. We had initially, worked this out. You were going to do this and I was going to do this and I'm doing this. But why are you not doing it? You feel very much like, well, that person didn't hold up their end of the bargain and that was what was established for us and it's not working. And I think that's where a lot of relationships can kind of crash. You know what I mean? But going back to the Bridgerton thing, girl, do you know how men would move the girl to the side on the sidewalk and be like, let me walk where the cars are coming so nothing happens to you. Y'all, listen, to the men that were like, oh, all you guys do is trash women. We do trash men. No, we're not, because we actually genuinely know a lot of great guys.
Yep.
And we are major supporters of the men that step it up. Okay.
The men that listen to this podcast.
Just watch the men that listen to the podcast. Just watch Bridgerton. And I'm telling you, you'll learn a lot.
There is something about a man's man.
A man's
man. I'm gonna say it right now.
I'm gonna say it too.
There's something about a man's man, and it's just attractive.
It is 100%.
There is attraction there.
Yes,
okay?
Yes, there is.
There is something about men who just huff and puff from okay, you know what? I'm gonna say this right now. Okay, I'm gonna say it right now. Okay, I was listening to a podcast.
Okay.
And in that podcast, it was two men and they had a female. It's shits and gigs. Okay.
And
they had a female on the show. And they were doing a red flag, green flag type of game. Okay. I don't know what the game was exactly. And they asked the girl, they were like, men who take gym selfies. Okay. And initially the men rolled their eyes and were like, oh, she's probably going to say red flag.
Okay.
And she was like, yo, that's a green flag. Keep doing that because it is a turn on. And I was laughing because she's like, you know what? There is something about a man who knows how to take care of himself, goes to the gym, comes all sweaty and huffing and puffing. Okay. And she's like, yeah, maybe the selfie is not the greatest or whatever. Yeah. But yes, there is something about the whole aura of taking a gym selfie, of we're taking care of yourself, of being out there and doing all of that. That is attractive for a woman. And I think that's it's one thing where we've all been gung-ho feminism, women can do anything men can do, fine. Okay?
But can we
right? But let's, because if there was men sitting on this podcast, they could probably take their shirt off.
Yeah.
Can we do that right now?
Hell no.
Astaghfirullah.
Hell no.
Hey, we cannot do that. Okay. So I'm just saying that, yes, it's great that women can do, whatever. Okay. We have the same level of education. We can do all these things, achieve all of these things. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's kind of do I want to?
Do I want to?
I don't. Do I really want to do this?
I want to be in my soft girl era. Okay, let me be. I also be a soft girl.
Real quick before we wrap it up, I also listened to a podcast talking about, have you heard the term trad wives?
No.
So it's actually traditional wives.
Oh,
Okay. And the whole concept is basically like a housewife. There's a little bit of like religion attached to it. So
Okay.
it's kind of like what your religion says is your role.
Okay.
And like how you're supposed to take care of your men and be this role in your home. And a lot of people were saying how trad wives who are now older, like let's say you're a trad wife in your 30. Okay. And you are now posting on social media about making homemade Oreos. Let's just say that's a trad wife. Okay. But now so the whole debate on this podcast was this person is now influencing Gen Z that, oh, this is something that you should want to do.
like a Stepford wife.
Yes, exactly. This is something you should want to do. You want to cater to your husband. You want to do all of these things. And all of these like 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old girls are commenting under this video saying, this is what I want to do. This is my goal in life. My ultimate goal in life is to be like her. And I think the debate was, is this right? Is this not? Are they taking everything that feminism has worked for up until today and just throwing it out the window?
I don't think so, because I do think that there is something about being a woman where you do, you are a nurturer, right? So like when you do have children, there is a bond that you have with your child that a man will never have. Let's be real. So I do think in certain areas of that portion of life, like you do become a lot more of like a nester, where like you're like close, you're staying with your kids and you're like, nursing and all that stuff. And mind you, there's a lot of women that work and do that too. But I do think that there is something, just the way that we are as women, that there is something like that.
Right.
But I don't think it's like people promoting that and being like, you need this life. I think that's the perception that people get from it. Like I watch a lot of people do that. And I do think it is, look, I think it is an easier life, because the truth is the 9-to-5 grind is not easy. Unfortunately, it's very hard to live in this economy. Like people be out there buying like a green pepper for like $20. You know what I mean? Like how do you survive? You can't, right? So yeah, I understand why women would want to gravitate to that, because your life is not as like chaotic when it comes to, you not necessarily having to go to work 9 to 5, deal with the stresses of work, which there are stresses. But then again, there's also the stresses of home life. And I think when you're 16, 17, you don't realize those things, right? You don't have the realization of like what that life entails. Right. It just looks a certain way on Instagram or TikTok. So I think when you're older, you maybe if you give yourself the experience of experiencing both, then you can make a better decision. But I always stand by like, sure, be a trad wife, be a Stepford wife, but then always do something on the side. You got to have something on the side.
I think for me, it all comes down to choice.
Yeah.
If you are choosing to do that and that fills your cup, I am 1000% going to support you.
I agree with you. Yeah.
If you are with a partner that is forcing that decision upon you,
that's what it is.
That is a question where that's something that needs to be questioned, in my opinion. Okay. If circumstances are forcing you to do something, okay, again, that could be like, every situation is very different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But I do have to say, one thing that they didn't really address in the podcast episode that I was listening to when it came to trad wives is that all of these trad wives are also making content and filming this and posting it is also a job. I think what a lot of people don't understand is it's not the way that some of this content is filmed is so spectacular.
It is.
It is a full-time job.
100%.
So as much as you want to look at this content and say, I want to do this, if you also want to be the content creator trad wife, that comes with a different set of responsibilities that you may not think of just because you're seeing it on your screen.
But that's the thing. Then is it even a trad wife? Is it even a Stepford wife? Because it's not. Maybe what you're doing is very like womanly, based off some people's opinions, that you're in the kitchen and you're making these from scratch Oreos. But at the end of the day, the work that goes into that's a whole other thing.
Yeah.
You're learning something completely different. You're getting paid for those things, right? So I do think it is.
Are you really a trad
Yeah,
wife?
I don't think you are. I mean, I understand what they're trying to say, but I don't think you are. And I 100% agree with what you said. If it's being forced on you, I really don't agree with that. If it's something that you want to do genuinely, go for it.
And if you did want to do it and then you decided to change your mind, that's okay too.
Yeah. So many people change their minds, right? It's just, I think, hearing other people's opinions, at some point you kind of have to like learn to zone that out.
Yeah.
You have to do what is best for you. If your mom is saying, oh, I don't think this is best for you, know what's best for you. When you're an adult, you know what's best for you. You can listen to their opinions respectfully, but then you have to do what's best for you. And I was going to say the gym selfie thing, because I got to take it back. I forgot to put my input in. The reason why I would be attracted to that is because I feel like any guy that goes to the gym is very disciplined.
Right.
You're disciplined. So I feel like the discipline part is probably something that a lot of people would be attracted to, because it's like, it takes discipline to get to that point, unless
For
you're
real.
taking steroids, which in that case, I don't know, guys.
Okay, and on that note, ladies and gentlemen,
that is our episode for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. We weren't able to cover every single thing, but we tried to just give it like as much time as we could. We're probably going to come out with a part 2 or 3. As you guys know, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It does wonders for our algorithm. Please follow us on Instagram, follow us on TikTok. Make sure you guys are giving us that 5 stars on Apple Podcast and Spotify, and we will see you guys next time.
bye.